Good afternoon and welcome to the Splash Page. This is episode number 2 for February 19th, 2012. I'm your host, Richard Cleveland, and with me always is the inimitable, what's the word I'm looking for?
Invulnerable. In my own mind.
Jason. Who are you, Jason? Tell people who you are.
I'm Jason Bishop. I'm your co-host for today. I'm also one of the managers over at Words and Pictures here in Calgary. For all your comic store needs, come check us out.
For whatever you need. If you need back issues, go to Words and Pictures. There's no other place in southern Alberta to go but to Words and Pictures for back issues.
Nowhere.
At
At
all.
Period. It's
Nobody else exists but Words and Pictures.
That's right.
All right. And they help us to produce the show each and every time we do it. We've been a little irregular getting started. Unfortunately, schedules happen and some things have to be put off for another day. And unfortunately, the Splash Page is just one of those shows that happens.
Should be roughly every 2 weeks, hopefully, from here on in, guys.
We've got some great news today about the world of comic books and everything that's going on. Recently, we had a passing in the world of comic books.
Well, that's not such great news, but we do want to acknowledge the passing of Al Rio, who's done a great many pieces of work.
Gen 13.
Exactly, most notably Gen 13, and he did some X-Men work for Marvel, and he was doing some great covers over at Zenoscope on their Grimm Fairy Tales line of books.
Yeah, he also, I'm looking at some of the lineup that he's done. Amazing Spider-Man, New Mutants.
Yeah, he's been all over the map.
Wow.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit of stuff, so it was a bit of a shock when he passed. And to him and his family, we
definitely
loss.
We send out our condolences to his family for their loss. And, we've lost another great in the world of comic books.
We have, yes, and hopefully we don't lose any more anytime soon.
Isn't that the truth? Speaking of which, let's talk about some people in comic books. In particular, we're going to jump right into this real quick and get it dirty and out of the way real fast. As if you were with us or listened to the last show, you will know we talked about an event that comes up here in Calgary every year called the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo, and this year it's happening April 27th to the 29th. And the big news...
Apeshit announcement, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Quite a few apeshit announcements.
Well, the
honestly.
one I almost wet myself on, almost needed Depends for, and that was the announcement of Mr. Stan the Man Lee, a legend in the field of comic books, and as well as animation. He's become a real legend in animation.
Yeah, and some people who don't read comics will probably recognize him from his cameos in the Marvel movies. They may not know who the hell he is, but they keep wondering why he keeps turning up.
Hey, if you're a comic geek,
he's the guy who created all this stuff. So for all you guys who've seen Iron Man but never read an Iron Man comic or Spider-Man, etc., he's the man for a reason.
The only ones he hasn't been in, I think, is the X-Men series.
He was in the first one for sure. I do remember that.
Yes, he was on the beach. He was selling hot dogs. Yeah, that's right. But I think that was the only one he was in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the that last one, the First Class, and I don't remember him in 2 or 3.
So we definitely want to welcome Stan coming to the expo here in Calgary. Another big name coming, one of my favorite artists by far, Mr. George Perez.
Yes. George was supposed to come last year, and he canceled. I was very crushed and heartbroken. George, if you're out there listening on your computer for some odd reason rather than drawing, stop, go draw something. But before you do, just get used to my name, because you're going to see me every single day. I'm not going to be that asshole who has 20 books in his hand. I'll have like 2 or 3, but you will see me. No, just 2 or 3 books. I don't want to hold up the guys behind me, but I have a lot of George Perez stuff.
Well, we hope we can sit down and talk with George while he's here.
I would hope so.
And get a couple of sound bites for the show.
Yeah.
We also have Robert Sawyer's coming, a man who has done some great work. He's won the Canadian Hugo Award as winning, and the Nebula Award For science fiction writing, he's authored 20 science fiction novels, including Flash Forward and Terminal Experiment, and the World WWW series Watch, Wake, and Wonder. So looking forward to seeing him here.
Wow, I didn't even know he was coming. You got me on that one.
Yeah, Mark Texera will be here as well.
Mark Texera. We got some Walking Dead cast that was announced this week.
Yes, we did. Yes, I was quite stoked about that. I'm still in the comics. I haven't moved over to the other guests yet, but we'll go there right now.
Well, we also have the originator of the Walking Dead comic book, the original artist from the first 6 issues is coming as well. So.
Yes. Speaking of comics and animation and crossovers and all kinds of stuff, we've got some great voices coming.
Do tell.
Do tell? I will. I can't wait to talk about this because we have John DiMaggio coming, the voice of Bender from Futurama.
Ah, yes, Bender.
Kiss my shiny metal ass. Can't wait. We also have Andy Reingold coming from the Undergrad series, and his partner in crime, Peter Williams, will be here as well.
Excellent.
Billy West is also coming, the voice of Fry from Futurama.
So lots of Futurama cast coming.
Yes, we do. You know what I didn't realize, though, is that so many of mainstream's sci-fi personalities actually do a lot of voiceovers. Katie Sackhoff is a great example of that.
Yeah, they do get around. Nathan Fillion's done a lot of the DC direct-to-video animations, most notably Green Lantern as of recently.
First Flight.
No, it was the one after.
Oh,
he didn't do First Flight. He did the anthology one that's escaping me right
Emerald
now.
Knights.
Emerald Knights, and he's also going to be voicing Green Lantern again in Justice League Doom, which is just out on the 28th of this month.
Nice.
So
See, I didn't know
soon. He was Vigilante in the Justice League cartoon.
That's true,
He's been getting around. We
also have Will Wheaton coming.
Well, he's not alone.
No, he is not. He's bringing a bunch of friends.
A bunch of friends from, there's a show called, it's on the tip of my tongue. Is it Star Trek?
Yeah, Star Trek.
The Next Generation.
The Next Generation, that's correct.
And he's bringing along the entire bridge crew from the series, the original series, from the first season. I mean, we even got Denise Crosby coming, who only lasted a couple of seasons.
Yeah, she was killed off by the end of season 2.
Yeah, by the big oil sludge thing.
By the big oil sludge thing, that's right. And then she reappeared in the series
some weird
from time to time.
Romulan clone.
Yeah, of the original Tasha Yar character.
I honestly was confused by that storyline, and it's one of those I just kind of wipe from my memory.
But surprisingly enough, Will Wheaton
was kind of announced all by himself before
the entire cast was.
Yeah, I had a feeling that we were going to get Patrick Stewart this year based on the large Star Trek guests we've had in the past. We had William Shatner last year, and the year before was Leonard Nimoy, and we've had much of the Next Gen cast, and I'd completely forgotten it was the 25th anniversary of the show this year, so it makes perfect sense to get this big family reunion going.
Yeah. I would have liked them to bring as much of the original cast to the expo all at one time as they could. Unfortunately, because of scheduling, and some of the cast members are no longer with us, unfortunately.
Well, and then they also have some issues with each other.
Yeah, yeah, there's that too. I wasn't going to go into that, but
it's out there. It's not like it's a big shock from my mouth here.
For those who don't know, Will Wheaton has done a lot of voiceovers, including Ben 10.
Oh, see, I didn't know he was. Again, a lot of them have done animation as well.
Yeah, he's done Ben 10, Brother Bear. He's also been in Grand Theft Auto as a voiceover. Super Robot Monkey Team, Hyperforce Go was another. And of course, he occurs periodically on The Big Bang Theory as himself. And
let's not forget the Guild as well.
The Guild, yes, he's been on the Guild as well. And the whole cast of the Guild was here last year.
That's right. And yeah, if you're into animation, I mean, go back a few years to Gargoyles. Almost that entire cast was in that show.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah. Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes was the big villain.
Marina Sirtis was one of the Gargoyles.
Villain Gargoyles. Puck was the guy who played Data.
Yes. That's, what is it? Brent Spiner.
Brent Spiner, yeah.
You know, I've got the page open and we can't think of their names. I'm looking right at them.
I've only got this little iPod thing in front of me, so this iPad, so it takes me too damn long to go looking.
Yeah, I can understand that. But that being said, if you are going to be in the Calgary area, April 27th to 29th, by all means, come down, check out the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo. It is definitely worth the weekend.
It's going to be a fun weekend. We'll be running around getting interviews and getting things signed on our own. So
you got that right.
If for some reason you recognize our voice, come and say hi, because you can't see us. So
no, we look totally different from what we sound like.
You're much better looking than you sound.
Oh, thanks. I thought you were going to say I sound better than I look. I will give you the other comment. You sound better than you look.
Asshole.
But for some reason, chicks just love them. I don't know. Maybe it's that nerdy look.
Hey.
Or it could be the spiked hair. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, the frosted tips.
There's no color in there.
No,
right
there
now.
Isn't anymore. It's all
been
gone
for like a year.
Okay, we're sidetracking.
Okay.
Let's get back to what's going on. Let's talk about DC Comics cancels 6 titles, and then they announce 6 new titles in the ongoing saga of 52.
That's right. Well, you know, inevitably when you launch a brand new line of books, you're going to lose a few along the way. Things aren't just going to hit with the audiences, and you know, some of these were good books, some of these were meh.
Meh.
I've read them all, you know, and some I liked, some I didn't. Based on my own store sales, none of these came as a big shock. My sales reflected pretty much this as well. But unfortunately, we're losing Men of War, Mr. Terrific, Hawk and Dove, Blackhawks, Static Shock, and OMAC. OMAC's actually probably one I'm going to miss the most because there was really nothing like it on the market at the time. It just had this weird merging of the old Kirby stuff and Keith Giffen and Dan Didio's sense of humor. It was just this neat throwback book, but yeah, given it's a foundation, I don't think we're going to see the character disappear or any of these characters disappear. Just because their books are canceled doesn't mean they're giving up on them. We're probably going to see them here and there.
Well, if they haven't killed them, they're not gone.
That's correct.
And even if they do kill them, they're not gone.
Well, who knows what the rules of this new universe is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, you got Men of War, Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific, to me, never felt as a character who could carry his own book. He was always an ensemble character to me.
I gotta agree with you. You know, he's coming out of Justice Society from an old universe, so he's really hasn't been established in this new universe. It's kind of common knowledge at this point that he's inevitably going to be a member of the new Justice League.
Right.
Why didn't they hold on to that? Why didn't they wait until he was part of the Justice League and launch off the synergy of that?
Well, you know, I think the reason that they do that kind of thing in comic books is so that when they do bring him back, it's kind of like giving you that bonus instead of crossing over and really bringing the story up to that point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dump the book now, and then we have an opportunity to reintroduce this character as part of the ensemble and really make him shine there.
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, maybe down the road we'll get another miniseries or something with them, but, you know, a little bit of a false start there. But speaking of Mr. Terrific, there was a character in Mr. Terrific that some people noticed was Karen Starr, better known as Power Girl.
Absolutely.
She doesn't appear as Power Girl in the book, though. She's a friend with benefits for Mr. Terrific. But she is going to be featured in one of the new books launching to replace these 6. One of those books is World's Finest. And she's teaming up with The Huntress, both of which aren't from that universe. The book's going to be written by Paul Levitz and rotating artists of George Perez and Kevin Maguire.
Well, I got to tell you,
really going to be a nice looking book.
That will be a nice looking book.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got George Perez doing art on anything,
yeah,
it's
he could draw Archie, and I'll buy it. You know,
yeah, that's the only reason I'd buy Archie. Now, let's talk about Static Shock for a minute. I mean, They dumped this book. Again, here's another character to me. They tried to launch a Saturday morning cartoon series with this character a while back. That was incredibly unsuccessful.
I don't know about that. I mean, they got 3 seasons out of it, I do believe. I mean, that's not bad for an animated series. And
Yeah, but I think there's only like what 8 or 9 episodes per season, isn't there? There's not a full 13.
I think they got the full 13, but if people forget, there's a lot of crossover episodes between Justice League or whatever, Superman or whatever.
Right.
And every time you watch one of those, you feel like you're watching Superman and Justice League rather than Static Shock. And admittedly, I tried to watch the show, couldn't get into it unless it was one of the crossover episodes.
Yeah, so. I didn't like the character until I saw him in an episode of Batman Beyond.
I didn't mind him in the animation stuff. I couldn't find that entry point for him. I did read a lot of the early Milestone stuff when it first launched. Didn't mind the character. I think Icon was the one I liked more.
Right.
He was just black Superman type of character.
For whatever reason,
I liked it.
African American characters don't have the same draw.
And it's a pity.
In mainstream,
and it always gets criticized when the titles get canceled. But
there's some great. Steel was a great character.
Steel was a great character. I loved Steel. Marvel's Black Panther book, especially when it was written by Christopher Priest, was absolutely amazing.
And then you had Hawk or Falcon, pardon me, from the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Character that could have done a great job, and he had his own book back in the early '80s and late '70s. And
the Falcon.
Falcon, and did not work. And then they teamed him up with Captain America for the longest time.
Yeah, and they always seem to be relegated as secondary characters. So good on DC for trying to push them out there. We lost about 3 minority characters in these cancelizations. I do believe the OMAC character was Korean or of an Asian descent somewhat. I don't remember exactly. Mr. Terrific was black. And Static Shock was black.
Yes.
But we still have Batwing out there, a great Batman in Africa kind of story. So, there's still hope. Hopefully that book the sales stay up. I've been really enjoying it.
I'm sure these characters are going to come back.
Yeah,
they're going to come back in other people's books. There's no doubt about that.
If you want these characters, buy them. I keep seeing these people online saying, "Oh, this is a racial decision." Well, no, it's sales. It has nothing to do with race.
No.
It's, you keep asking for the books and then you don't buy them. So.
Do you know how many Asian and African American people work at these places? So it's definitely not race motivated.
No, it's absolutely not. So it's unfortunate, but maybe we'll find another character at DC that we'll be able to push forward, because they're definitely firmly committed to keeping a multicultural cast within their universe.
And they always have had a multicultural cast.
Yeah, I mean, people just don't notice.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you got Bruce Wayne running around flaunting money and wearing gray tights.
I mean, there was just a year ago, they were like, well, where's all the women in comics? And DC's always been one of the biggest employers of females at in any comic book company.
Now they
never get recognized.
Let's quickly talk about females in comic books. We'll just kind of go off the rail here a little bit, especially in the New 52, because we're seeing stories that have had, less than favorable letters, let's say.
There has been some controversy with this New 52, and DC's definitely going for a different flavor. There's definitely more racy content, as shall we say. I
wouldn't necessarily call it adult content. I would definitely call it mature teen content.
Yes, and sometimes they're pushing the border of their ratings, I think. That first Catwoman issue with she's all up in Batman's junk.
Yeah. And what is the character from the Teen Titans that escapes?
Starfire.
Starfire, yes.
Over in Red Hood and the Outlaws, she's depicted,
pretty loose?
Pretty loose. I mean, and people are, it's kind of funny. They're how they came out of the woodworks going, oh, well, she's not like that. Well, this is a brand new universe, guys. We don't know what she's like. Secondly, before that happened, I doubt she would have made anybody's top 10 list of favorite characters.
That's true.
But until she, sleeps with multiple characters, suddenly she's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
So, get off your high horse, people. Relax. The story will play out. this is Scott Lobdell, who's done amazing work over at Marvel in the past. Trust in the man. He's got a story there, and it'll play out.
I think what
you'll probably
DC
be surprised.
is trying to get across here is that the old continuity is gone. The characters still remain. Yes, the characters are here, the characters you love, but now we're going to look at them in a new light.
That's
and
right.
change them for the times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't live in the 70s anymore. We don't live in the 80s anymore. We don't live in the 90s anymore.
Yeah.
It's time for a change.
Yeah. And tonally, there's a lot, at least I think with the more successful parts of the line, there seems to be some resistance in certain books, but for the most part, it feels more like the Wildstorm universe did. Edgier, quicker pace.
Right.
They're more open to controversy, violence, etc., sexual content, things like that. And we're kind of seeing that in a lot of the books. I mean, obviously, we're going to see them in the Wildstorm characters that are returning in this universe, but we're starting to see that in Justice League.
To me, it just says that it's time that they made these changes. I mean, for the longest time, DC was such a comics code. We're going to go by the book. Everybody's going to read our comics because we appeal to the 4 and 5-year-olds right up to the 40 and 50-year-olds.
Well, and the point of this was to address how anachronistic they were becoming.
Right.
So they needed to update them. And, it's good that they do that every 25-something years. One wonders when Marvel's going to do it, if they're going to do it. They tend to retcon rather in favor of restarts, but it's not inconceivable that they'll do the same thing as well because, Iron Man initially was, Vietnam War when that happened?
Yes,
and the war keeps changing. So it's inevitable, I think, that they'll either restart or we'll get another reset of some sort. Or
when you've got
retcon.
50 years of history behind a character, it's tough to take that character and throw that character into a brand new situation that is modernized and bring them back to a younger look and feel.
History is intimidating for new readers.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really tough to draw them in. When all this started, all these new number ones came in, I saw a lot of new readers coming in for the new 52, and I saw Marvel guys jumping over as well. Like, it got people excited in the store. Wednesday, everybody was talking DC, and it'd been a while since we'd heard these kind of conversations.
Right.
So,
I got to say,
whatever brings the butts into the store, I'm all for it.
I got to say this: the caliber of stories, and the caliber of the artwork, and just the flow of the books, to me, has made it a much more enjoyable experience than it ever was in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a brand new look, a brand new feel. It's like taking an old movie, redoing it for today's times.
Yeah, and I do have some resistance to remakes, but they're not trying to tell old stories in a new way. They're trying to do new stories. Brand new stories, and treating these characters as if it's their first time on stage, and that's fantastic.
Now, here's something that you called me about that you were so excited about that I want to touch on, and this is to do with the Watchmen announcement. I want you to tell people about that.
Okay, well, rumors have been abound for quite some time that Watchmen 2 was in the pipes. We didn't know what Watchmen 2 was going to be, and about a week ago, the announcement came. Before the Watchmen is coming, it's a series of limited series that are going to be released on a weekly basis. It's going to be spearheaded by Darwin Cook, who's writing and drawing the Minutemen series. And bringing along with him an all-star cast of creators. We're going to get a lot of purists out there, I think, who are going to have some resistance to this initially. I, for one, am not one of those people. Even Alan Moore at one point was developing sequel to that story before he jumped ship from DC and now hates everything to do with them. At the end of the day, it's still DC's to do with what they want. And they're going to be careful to try to do justice to the original material and create new legendary stories with them. And it's hard to see this losing. I mean, if this doesn't work, it's going to go away, and Watchmen will still be there, and people will love it. but I'm hoping people will love this stuff too. Listen to this lineup. Okay, we got Rorschach miniseries by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. Amazing stuff. That one's just going to be.
If you're a
pretty as
Rorschach
picture.
fan, and anybody who read The Watchmen
is a
Rorschach fan.
Yeah, and I mean, these guys have teamed up a couple of times with Lex Luthor and most recently on the Joker series.
Right.
And Lee Bermejo released Batman Noel just this past Christmas as well. So, I mean, stellar artwork. It's going to be nice painted style. Can't wait to see that one. The Comedian, also written by Brian Azzarello, with art by J.G. Jones, who we haven't seen do interiors for quite some time.
Yeah, he's been on covers for a number of years now, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
At least 2 that I know of.
Well, he did all those 52 covers.
Right.
So he was doing a cover a week.
Yeah, easy.
So that alone, and he's painting that stuff, right? And I'm not sure how he produces his work, whether it's digital or whatever, but it's amazing work. And looking forward to seeing his interiors again, because I don't think we've actually seen him do interiors since Wanted.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So can't wait to see him again. Darwin Cook, as I mentioned, is on Minutemen. He's writing and drawing that book. Yeah, writing and drawing that book. Every time that guy does something, I'm usually blown away. Like, usually he's writing and drawing his own work, but sometimes he'll work with other writers as an artist, and other artists will work with him as a writer. But you get you look back at the New Frontier book. And
that one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah, and his Spirit book, that he did 12 issues of that. And most recently, his Parker novel adaptions are the crime stuff are amazing.
Right.
I'll have to grab them from home and lend them to you at some point. They're really wonderful.
Now, this is one I'm looking forward to just because, I enjoyed the character in the book, and I enjoyed the way the character was portrayed in the movie, and that's the Silk Spectre, because that's done by Darwin Cook and one of my absolute favorites, Amanda Connor.
Yeah, man, I got to meet Amanda last year.
Yeah, she was here with her husband.
Jimmy were here, and they're just fun people to be around. But yeah, love her style, and she does this sexy woman style. I think that one's going to have a fun flavor to it. It's going to be, I think, the original Silk Spectre, not the one from The Watchmen.
Yeah, it'll be the original, so the Minutemen version.
A 40s tie-in to what Darwin's probably doing. And that was a heavy story when we start looking at the flashbacks.
Oh, yeah,
Watchmen.
absolutely.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether they address any of that content.
Amanda's art style, though, I think will be able to pull that book all together.
Well, yeah, we've seen her do cutesy stuff, and we've seen her do really harsh stuff with like the Pro with Garth Ennis, which was just insane. So
Darwin's period writing, in my opinion, is top notch.
Darwin, he's one of these people who really will only do a project if he absolutely loves it, and that shows and shines through on every panel and everything he's ever done. It's every time he touches something, it's just with this absolute reverence for the material, and looking forward to seeing it.
And now there's 3 more in that lineup as well coming out.
We got J. Michael Straczynski's attached to him, Dr. Manhattan and Night Owl. Dr. Manhattan's going to be him and Adam Hughes, who we haven't seen do interiors for a while either. He's been another guy who's been sitting on the covers for a while. It's going to be wonderful to see him do some interiors. Interesting matchup because, usually he's stuck on the sexy lady characters. So
that's right, yeah.
You can bet Silk Spectre's going to get some probably some raunchy moments in there.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how hung Mr. Manhattan's going to be in the book.
Well, if you read the original graphic novel, he was pretty well endowed in that book.
Yeah, well, and
they didn't shy away from that in the movie either.
And if people don't remember, Adam Hughes had a stint on Penthouse Comics.
I did not know that.
I got you on that one.
You did. I did not know that.
So here's a guy who's not going to shy away from drawing the junk. So.
No, that's for sure.
Night Owl's the other Straczynski book, and it sounds like it's either going to be Andy or Joe Kuberts, or both of them. I'm unclear on who's going to be doing that book.
I think it's my understanding is they haven't really decided which one of the 2 Kuberts it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, my vote's on Joe.
Well, it depends on whether we get which version, because there's another legacy character, and if you tell it from present to past, I know the Cubers like to do that. So if you got Andy doing the present or the 85
Right.
Watchmen period stuff, and then you've got Joe doing the 40 stuff, I'd be all into that. I think that would be a perfect matchup there.
You
And
know,
we've seen
I
them do
can't
that
disagree with
before.
that. I cannot disagree with that. As much as I'm a huge Joe Kubert fan, I can't disagree with Andy's work either. I mean, he does phenomenal work set in our time.
Yeah.
Now, Len Wein and Jay Lee.
Jay Lee, I'm wondering how they snapped him away from Marvel. He's been kind of closeted away over on the Dark Tower books, doing a splendid job on those books, but he's been over there for quite some time. So it was kind of a surprise to see his name attached to it. Len Wein, no surprise there. He was one of the...
We should mention the title of the book, too.
Yeah, oh, sorry. This is the Ozymandias book he's going to be writing, and Len Wein was the original editor on Watchmen.
Right.
And you know, he's his resume alone is massive. He did DC Legacies not so long ago, but I mean, here's a guy who created Wolverine, for crying out loud. Like, this guy, it's been all over the map. His history in comics is huge and legendary. But this is going to be a good pairing. I mean, there's a pairing we haven't seen before, and Jay Lee at DC as a whole. Like, I don't think we've really seen Jay Lee at DC before. So
now, my understanding is each one of these new books is going to feature. Also, here's some extra information for those people that are Watchmen fans. A 2-page backup strip for Curse of the Crimson Corsair. And that's done by Len Wein and drawn by Watchmen colorist John Higgins.
So, again, we get some legacy going there. A little surprised to not see Dave Gibbons on this list, honestly.
Well, you know, sometimes you got to move on to doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah, well, and we'll talk a little bit about Dave later on. He is partnering up with Mark Millar on a project, so we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on here.
Now let's just kind of switch gears.
Should we flip back to the new announcements for the DC replacements?
Yes, we should. I forgot all about those.
We went a little bit of a tangent here, so let's tell you what's replacing those 6 books that got canceled. First one up is, since we were talking about Karen Starr and Huntress, is World's Finest.
World's Finest.
And that's the George Perez, Kevin Maguire book with Paul Levitz.
Right.
Earth 2 is going to be primarily the Justice Society book we heard about earlier by James Robinson. And blanking on her name. I feel so bad here.
And I'm looking at the notes, so
my link didn't kick in there. Anyway,
Nicola Scott.
Nicola Scott, right? Great Australian artist. Most recently seen on Wonder Woman.
Right.
Amazing stuff. So good pairing there. We got spinning out of Superboy and the Teen Titans, The Ravagers. So if anybody is reading that book,
and that's written by Howard Mackey.
That's gonna be Howard Mackey returning, another Marvel writer who's used to co-writing with Scott Lobdell.
Right.
So there's going to be probably a lot of tie-in on those books, naturally springing out of that series. So we're going to see a lot of other characters that were released by the Evo Corporation running around in this book. And from my understanding, they're going to be hunted down by the Ravager.
Yes. Now, we should
daughter.
mention that it'll be Ian Churchill doing the art in that book.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. He's been experimenting with a new style, so it'll be interesting to see whether he brings his new style into the book or if he goes back to his more 90s style that he used to do. And he's worked with these cats before, so
absolutely,
it'll be interesting to see what that's going to look like.
Now, here's a book that brings me back to my sort of late teen years, Dial H, which used to be Dial H for Hero.
Yes.
And that's being written by Paul Levitz, of course. And
no.
Oh, no, that's World's... I'm sorry, that is not. You're right. Yeah. It's... I'm going to butcher her name. It's China...
It's him. It's a him.
It's a him. I'm going to butcher his name.
China Melville.
Melville. There we go.
And I'm not too familiar with his work. He was a novelist. He had pitched some Swamp Thing stuff that was originally supposed to be Vertigo. I think it died on the vine due to the relaunch and bringing the characters back into the DC fold rather than Vertigo. I'm thinking this might, because it's edited by Karen Berger again, who's the
Yes.
Vertigo editor. So I'm thinking this is a slightly softened up book that was intended to be a Vertigo release. And I feel the same way about the new Animal Man book. Animal Man is fantastic, but it reads a lot like a Vertigo book still. And I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to this. I liked Dial H as a kid, and I'm gonna admit something on the air here. I actually drew a character, sent it in, because back then you used to be able to.
Yeah, you could submit your own character.
Submit your own characters, and they might use them. Of course, I was buying my stuff out of a used bookstore. I didn't, things that look cool. I had no idea the book at the time wasn't even being published. So I don't know where the character landed, but
now we should mention that it's artist Matthias Santaluco, who did I pronounce that right? I probably did.
I have no idea, but that was very impressive. It sounded right.
He's going to be doing the art on Dial H. What DC seems to do is these more obscure kind of books. They take some of the lesser known writer artists and they'll bring them in just to try and showcase them, which to me DC has done for many years, and then that kind of gives them that springboard to get on to bigger and better books and really gets their name out there.
Well, and I'm glad to see that this feels a lot like the DC from the 70s, and Warner could put the pressure on. It's like, why should you publish anything that isn't successful? Why would you publish anything but Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman and Justice League, right?
Right.
They don't have to, but they're trying, and they're getting their other characters out there. You never know what's going to hit. I mean, Animal Man was a big surprise hit this year, and Dial H concept many people are familiar with anymore, and there could be something there. A few years ago, early 2000s. They did another shot at it. Again, I think it was just called Dial H, with Will Pfeiffer doing the writing. And, great series. Unfortunately, it only lasted around 22 issues, but great run. If people can find it, grab it. I highly recommend it. And looking forward to this one. It's going to be the tough sell out of the 6, though.
Now, rounding out the 2-6, first we'll talk about GI Combat, which to me kind of replaces that Men of War and kind of Blackhawks deal.
Yeah, they're not giving up on the military comics, which is nice to see. They're still trying with that. I honestly think a lot of this was intended for Men of War. They're just changing the branding, and it also helps them renew trademarks. We're moving away from Sergeant Rock from Men of War, so it's actually a good time to launch it in a new book. And they're reintroducing the War That Time Forgot, and be interesting because I don't know if they're going to do this as a modern story or because it was originally a World War II story.
They're really not alluding to what they're going to do. They are saying that the Haunted Tank will be back.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the backups.
Yeah, it's also going to include the Unknown Soldier, which was a big hit for them in the early 70s, right into the 80s.
Yeah, he was just right up there with Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And rounding out our top 6 for the coming books in the new 52 lineup is a book that still, to me, has not caught on. Being, I am a fat fan of and I am a fat man. I'm a fat fan of the genre and the character that they've built this book on, and that's Batman Incorporated. It's being written by Grant Morrison and art by Chris Burnham.
Yeah, this is kind of picking up where they left off. The book fell behind prior to the relaunch. Batman's pretty unaffected by the relaunch, so they're continuing on with their story. They've told Grant Morrison has been really setting the foundation for the Batman universe for a while, and this is kind of this last stage of that. It's unclear whether this is going to be an ongoing series or maxi series, though. From my understanding, they're signed for 12 issues, but it's possible that they'll keep the book going, much like they did Batman and Robin when he was writing that book. So we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out, but that's going to continue with the Batman Incorporated concept. Hard to say how that one's going to go. I mean, I think it's just going to be more of what we had before. If you were liking it, you're going to like it again, I'm sure.
Well, Batman as a character in the new 52 universe is becoming more of the, I want to say, mentor to the rebranding of some of these characters?
Yeah, because his history's kind of intact. He's a little younger than he was before, but they've alluded to the fact he's been around the longest out of these characters. Action Comics, if you've been reading that, it's taken place in the past, I think about 10 years, but Batman's already been active before any of these other characters start showing up. So,
Right.
yeah, he's going to be the one that knows everything and has everything figured out.
For me, that kind of goes hand in hand with a storyline they did a while back where the Justice League finally discovered that he knew everybody's weakness and had a way to take everybody down. So this would be a good launching point for that whole or a reimagining of that storyline.
Justice League Doom. Check it out next week.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm
28th.
I'm going to be in
League
line
Doom.
for that book, I think.
No, that's the DVD.
Oh, that's a DVD.
It is loosely based. I'll give people a little teaser here. It is loosely based on the Tower of Babel story. As you said, Batman's got everybody figured out and knows how to take him down. And if anybody read that story, his notebook, as it were, his computer was hacked or whatever with Prometheus,
right?
Who stole the ideas of how to take these people down. That's what this story is. And it's also kind of our first look at the post 52 characters. They're
okay.
kind of like their first appearance in animation. They've done them to match what we're seeing now in the new 52.
In the new 52.
So it's not going to be a strict adaptation of that story. Cyborg's on the team, who obviously wouldn't have been in that story. And the design work's going to reflect the current designs rather than the ones from the early 2000s.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. You know me, I have a large collection of DC animated.
You and me both. So yeah, check that out if you want to get back into the Batman takes everybody down story. That's going to be an awesome animation for sure.
Now let's move over to Marvel real quick before we get into what's on the shelves. The Avengers vs. X-Men Zero is slated to hit stores if it hasn't hit stores already.
Not yet. We're going to see the Zero issue at the end of March, and then everything officially kicks off in April, the beginning of April. This is their big push. We've got everybody and every creator, every writer, artist team up you can think of is involved in this thing. We've got Frank Cho on Zero, Ed Brubaker, Brian
we got
Azzarello, Bendis. It is an all-star
Jason
casting
Aaron.
crew. Yeah,
there's a huge amount of people that are in this.
Yeah, so we've got the Avengers versus the X-Men. They've been kind of hush-hush as to what prompts this happening, but that's all going to come to probably a head in Zero. And we're going to see some returns of some uber-powerful characters. We're going to see the return of Phoenix.
Yes.
Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
We've already seen the return of Cable in Avengers X-Men X-Sanction. Which is probably something everybody should be paying attention to because that's easily going to be the primer for this big
you think so,
event.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we might see another major announcement. I have some predictions. I could be wrong. I very possibly could be wrong. But when you got characters of this caliber, somebody who whispered out the mutants by "No more mutants." And suddenly the population went from a few million to, I don't know, was it 199 or something like that?
It dropped dramatically, let's say.
Yeah, it went down a lot. And then Phoenix, her power levels are uber cosmic kind of stuff. You got Cable, who's a time traveler. We've seen how time travel can affect
storylines and continuity,
DC's New 52 was out of a time travel story in Flashpoint. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think that looking at the previews
could happen here.
Yeah, well, looking at the preview pages that they've got up here on CBR, and if you folks don't know who CBR is, they are the comic book review site.
Comic book resources.
Comic book resources, and they are probably one of the best resource sites out there if you're looking for comic book news. That's where we go to get some of ours. And I encourage you all of our listeners to go and check out some of the artwork in these preview pages. It looks outstanding. I
Yeah.
can't wait for A versus X. And you know me, I'm a DC guy all the way, and there are some Marvel books that kind of sway me back and forth from time to time. This looks like it's going to be one of those.
I read a healthy chunk of both. Gotta admit, past crossovers haven't wowed me over at Marvel, but I'm very excited about this one. So
Well, I guess say Fear itself didn't do much for me last year.
yeah, it didn't hit the marks for me either. Hopefully they'll bounce back and we'll see more out of that. But AVX, that's the new focus, and I think we're going to see some really good stuff come out of that.
I couldn't agree more. So let's talk about what was on the shelf this past week. And you've got some new titles that came out, did you not?
Oh yeah, there's always new titles. We didn't get anything big this week. We did see the release of Peter Panzerfaust actually, which was an interesting image book. Hard to describe this one. Peter Pan in World War II. And it's drawn by a local talent, but the talent actually is escaping my head at the moment. But worth a look. It's already sold out at Diamond. Second prints will be arriving with issue 2. So I think that was probably the most interesting book that hit my rack this week.
Anything interesting coming up this next week? Wednesday, of course, as everybody knows, is New Comic Book Release Day, and normally we actually record this show Tuesday nights. So we usually have that list in front of us, but we don't. Can you tell me, based on what you know, or maybe don't know, what might be coming that could interest readers to check out what's on the shelf?
Oh boy, I'm trying to remember. I did look at my bill. Actually, if you give me a minute, and I can log into my distributor, and I can tell everybody what's coming next week.
All right, we're going to let him do that, and he can tell us what is on the mark and still to come. Now, a couple of resources I want you to check out is Comic Book Resources. If you are into comics in any way, shape, or form, regardless of what type of comic you're into, go check them out. Again, I can't stress enough to check out Words and Pictures here in Calgary. They are down on Center Street. And if you are a fan of back issues, current issues, manga, anime, toys, games, this is the place to go. They've got some nice square footage there, so you won't feel like you're cramped and in a dark little corner. And, they've got everything you can pretty much get your hands on. As well as when you're there, you can stop by and say hi to the staff and tell them that you heard about their place from us here on the Splash page, and we'd be happy to send you their way. Now, there's a couple of movies still to come. Let's just have a quick look at what's coming in movies here. Movie trailers and clips. We're just going to go quickly to that. And while Jason's looking up the new trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man came out not too long ago during the Super Bowl, which will be opening July 3rd. This is a retelling of the the Spider-Man franchise. And it looks like it could be real good.
What did you think about that? I caught it, and honestly, I wasn't blown away by that trailer. Actually, I got to tell you, I'm really excited about Avengers. But
when I see the suit, I immediately go back to thinking about Alex Ross's art for the first movie when he did his design work, and that was what immediately struck me about this new movie. So I got to see it now, and the fact that they're bringing the lizard in has got me enticed to see this movie. Whether it'll be good, bad, indifferent, I don't know, but just to see the lizard.
That could be definitely cool. Part of me feels like this isn't targeted for me. It feels like it's targeted to the tweeny crowd. It feels
it is a little bit more
Twilighty to me.
It's a little more Disney-esque.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really am. I want to see it. I know the budget isn't going to be in that $250 million that they were doing. It's more of an $80 million movie, but money doesn't make a good movie.
That's very true.
A good movie makes a good movie. So hopefully we'll see some good stuff. I haven't got enough out of the trailer to make a judgment yet. All I got to say is, what kind of gel is that guy using to keep his hair like that? It's insane.
And during the Super Bowl, we saw the new trailer for the Avengers, the longer minute and a half version of that trailer. And I got to say, seeing the Hulk was awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm a Hulk guy. I'm going to put that out there. I've got tons and tons of Hulk issues. So the Hulk within the Avengers is just makes my day. I'm glad they're not giving up on him in movies. And let's face it, Loki can keep his army. The Avengers have a Hulk.
That's right. I think the only drawback for me on this whole Avengers thing is Cap's suit. It just doesn't fit.
And maybe that's just because we got used to it in the Captain America. We got used to that interesting period thing that seemed to work for its time period. Now we're getting something that's meant to be more modern, molded. I don't know. I think I have to see that one in action before I really make a judgment on it.
Any of the pictures I've seen, it's just not grabbing me.
And
Man,
I'm not sure what's going on with Thor. I see them in the trailers. He's got his armor on and then sleeves off, and I'm like, they're retractable. What's going on?
You never know. He's a god after all.
Well,
Anything could happen.
That's true. He's like sleeves on, sleeves off. Whatever.
And this is something we talked about in the last episode. And I gotta say, I saw the Super Bowl commercial for this one, John Carter. Which, if you're an older comic book guy like me, John Carter of Mars was the original title. I gotta say, they're doing this right by the looks of things.
I gotta agree with you. I haven't read a ton of it. I did read a few of my dad's books when I was younger. He had Tarzan and John Carter up on the shelves, so I read quite a bit of those. The ones he had anyway. Just loved the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. Looks like they're doing it right. I think this is going to be Princess of Mars that they're doing. As soon as I saw the Great White Ape thing,
absolutely.
Oh man, it's awesome.
And the biggest disappointment, which actually hit theaters this past Friday, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
Well, I'm actually surprised that it even got a sequel, but it's by the director of the Crash movies, or no, Crank. Sorry, the Crank movies. Couldn't do much worse, but I mean, this is a movie that didn't hit really well the first time. Not sure how well it's going to do the second time either. Well, I do know the weekend totals are in. It opened in third, but it's only $1 million or $2 million out from the top spot, so nothing opened with a really great gusto this week.
Right.
23.5, I think, was around the total it brought in, which is not bad for a February release, honestly. But kind of odd that they would do a sequel at all. It was one of those, that first movie, I've tried to watch it 2-3 times. I can't tell you a damn thing about it. I mean, because I've fallen asleep, I get distracted and do something else, or I'm just bored. It's just not a good movie.
To me, if you get past Nick Cage as Johnny Blaze, it's not a half bad movie.
Yeah, and I'm not one of the Nick Cage haters out there. I have enjoyed.
Well, neither am I. I think he's done some fantastic work, but this is not his forte, I don't think.
At least Johnny's generic enough that, it doesn't have to be somebody specific. It's not like when they dropped the ball on John Constantine, or when they were originally going to put Nicolas Cage as Superman.
That's true.
I just don't think... It could have been worse people.
I just don't think that Nick Cage has the right swagger for Johnny Blaze. To be perfectly honest, he every time I see him, he's got that Nick Cage swagger.
Well, yeah.
That you've seen in just about every role he's ever played.
Part of the problem with Nick Cage now is all you see is Nick Cage. You don't buy him as a character anymore.
That's true.
He is Nick Cage as this character, not a character being played by Nick Cage. And part of what makes movies enjoyable is believing in the character as the character they're supposed to be. But he's so public, he's so out there. We just see Nicolas Cage these days, and I think that turns people off a bit.
I think you're right. Now, moving right along, we were going to look up something. What you got that now?
Yeah, I'm all ready to go. Let's just take a quick look at next week's releases. Got some big DC releases with Aquaman, Batman Dark Knight, Flash #6, Green Lantern New Guardians, Justice League Dark number 6. Looks like they're holding off on the release of Justice League 6 until the following week. We do have an extra week here, a 5th week skip week. So I think they're holding that off until the last week of February. Superman number 6, Titans number 6. Those are, I think, the big highlights for DC. Let's check out what's coming out from other publishers here. We got Avengers Academy and Avengers Solo coming from Marvel. Bomb Queen Volume 7, number 1, for you guys who like that insanity of that book. Chew number 24. Always an interesting read. If you guys are kind of the Walking Dead guys, might enjoy that book. It's kind of a crime book. The detective has to eat part of the victim to see what's going on. It's just a strange little book, and
that's kind of bizarre.
It is. It's always something different on that one, and I think that's a testament to its success. Let's see, what else do we got coming? Looks like a lighter week. We got Incorruptible number 27 from Boom Studios. Red Sonja and Witchblade number 1 from Dynamite, as well as Red Sonja number 64 from Dynamite as well. The Sixth Gun number 19 from Oni Press. And part 3, or Venom 13.3.
Venom 13.3. Okay.
They've been doing this miniseries within a series on Venom. It's kind of Venom month of February. I think this was intended to originally be its own miniseries.
Okay.
That's was or crossover event, I should say, with X-23, Red Hulk, and Ghost Rider. Well, Ghost Rider's book got canceled. X-23's book is canceled. I think they're all still wrapping up, but it would have pushed everything forward. And good on you, Marvel, for canceling the Ghost Rider book when the movie's coming out.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a smart marketing move.
No, not so much. But so I think this was a way of saving the events and moving it into somewhere else. Venom selling well. I guess they didn't feel like they needed to disrupt what Jeff Parker was doing over in Red Hulk. But a lot of these guys who were involved on those books are writing their sequences.
Okay.
Williams is doing the Ghost Rider bits, and Jeff Parker's doing the Red Hulk bits.
Sure.
So, it's kind of like a miniseries within a series. I don't understand these point ones and point twos, point threes, and etc. I think it's they've confused things enough already by doing legacy numbering and whatnot. So it seems to keep unnecessarily complicate things. But check it out. Venom's still a good book, regardless of what kind of crap numbering they put on it. So go check it out. Remender's doing an amazing job there, and most of his books actually.
Right.
Secret Avengers as well. He's just launched on that, and his Uncanny X-Force is a really good read as well. So I'm on the Remender bandwagon right now. So check it out. Definitely enjoyable read.
Very cool.
That's kind of our highlights for next week, and we will be back in a couple weeks with another list of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
January, February they tend to lie low, gearing up for their events. So we'll have some more talk about. We got Saga coming up soon from Image Comics, with our friend Fiona Staples doing the artwork and Brian K. Vaughan writing. And I got to tell you, my pre-orders are really high for probably the highest Image book I've had in a very long time.
Maybe we can get Fiona in to talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to approach her again.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to her and see if she'll come and hang out with us one afternoon or evening and talk about the new book and that kind of stuff. Well, just before we wrap it up today, I just want to point you again to some of the movies that are quickly coming out this summer to watch for, and then we'll talk quickly about the new DC logo, and then we're going to wrap it up. First and foremost, as you've heard us talk about, there is the Amazing Spider-Man coming out, the Avengers movie, John Carter, which we talked about, The Dark Knight Rises, which will be hitting theaters not too far away from now.
Could be a big one.
It's definitely going to be a big one. We've got Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, which opened this past Friday. We have Men in Black 3, which I'm kind of on the fence about. Prometheus. Now, I want to take a quick second to talk about this. This is Ridley Scott's envisioning of the prequel to Alien. Not Aliens, but Alien. The very first time we got to see the xenomorph and Sigourney Weaver in her underpants. G.I. Joe 2 is kind of... I'm on the fence about that one. The Rock, this looks like it's going to be more of a solid story, but it all depends if they can get away from that childish feel that the first one had.
Well, from what I can see, we've pretty much tossed most of what was in that out the window.
They're pretty much killing off all the main characters
They're
from the first one.
I think the 3 main cast are back in this one, but everybody else is new actors, new characters. So they're going to try to distance themselves. I think the original, the first one did well enough to warrant this sequel, but different directors, different writers. So we're going to, hopefully this will be all right. I mean, I didn't mind the first one. So as long as you can stick your childhood in the closet, it's actually an enjoyable watch. So.
Then we've got Total Recall, which is a remake of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Not sure how I feel about that one.
Yeah,
honestly.
I'm kind of on the fence about that one myself. The new 007, which is probably this is the second original script in the series of 007 movies, called Skyfall.
Yeah, Skyfall.
Daniel Craig is back.
I think it's actually based on a short story of Ian's, but don't.
I have to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, I have to do some research on that myself. But kind of like the last one was also based on a short story by Ian Fleming as well. So interesting to see. It sounds like a lot of this is actually going to be based on a brand new novel that was released recently. Unfortunately, the name escapes me, but you 007 fans probably know what the hell I'm talking about. This sounds like they've taken some sequences from the book, so check out the new novel that's out there right now. Just Google new 007 book, and I'm sure you'll find it. And
a movie that is for all the hairy-feeted lovers in the world, The Hobbit.
Hobbit, yes. This one's going to be huge. I don't know if that's actually out this year or for 2013, but
I heard it was supposed to be hitting around Christmas of 2012.
Okay, that sounds about right. They're taking over their Lord of the Rings spot again, and we're getting 2 movies out of that. So we're going to see that story expanded quite a bit, I think, and it's going to be quite a bit different, I think, from the original book.
We have an all-star studded cast for that as well.
Yeah, everybody's back, including people who weren't in the book. So it's going to be interesting to see how they expand on this.
What I found to be quite interesting is that Andy Serkis is second unit director on this movie.
I actually didn't know that. I'm not surprised. He's just good at what he does. He's a good actor and does the body work really well and voice acting.
Yeah.
So it's nice to give him some chops elsewhere. We'll see how he can do on some of the second unit stuff. I mean, I think he's going to be mainly involved in directing a lot of the motion cap actors for whatever CG work they're going to be putting them through.
My understanding from if you are a fan of The Hobbit, I encourage you to go up to YouTube and look at some of the blogs that they've put up already on YouTube, and they go behind the scenes of the making of The Hobbit, and that's where I first discovered that Andy Serkis was actually second unit director, and doing a fantastic job from what I can see, and the movie looks absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, I tend to avoid that kind of stuff. I don't like to ruin anything for myself, so I tend to wait for Peter Jackson's inevitable gigantic DVD set, because it'll all be on there. Every time he needs to go to the can, it'll be on there. Everything. I mean, it's exhaustive film diary that he did on Lord of the Rings. So
not diarrhea, diary.
Yeah, it's same difference on this.
No. All right.
It goes on and on and on. But I mean, for anybody who likes all the behind the scenes stuff, inevitably there's going to be one of those releases.
Sure.
So we're looking into future DVDs or whatever the technology happens to be by the time it actually hits DVD. But
And finally, let's wrap up with the new DC logo, which begins in March.
okay, yes, we're going to see those very soon, couple weeks. We're going to see the new logo adorning the books. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, Google new DC logo. It kind of looks like this DC that's flipped. The D is flipped back, revealing the C. The C is going to be stylized to suit the book it's on.
Right.
Like the one I saw for the Watchmen books, it's going to be a yellow C with a little blood spatter on it. I've seen electric.
So very
like
themed
yeah,
to kick off the new logo.
Yeah, they're going to be very themed. They're going to be the visual identifiers for each line, like the dark line and the hero line, etc. People have mixed feelings about this. I've seen the mock-ups that they've done.
Yeah, they're all over the internet.
Yeah, the mock-ups, kind of like them, honestly. I know there's been some resistance. There's always resistance to change. Personally, I wish they would have stayed with something that was more reminiscent of the history of their logo, because they always had the DC with the star spinning around it, or stars, and they've completely wiped that out now. This one feels a little more corporate, a little more generic, at least when I initially saw them.
The original DC logo was just a D and a C.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and it was a very hard cut font.
Yeah.
Very bold.
This feels like they designed it to put on a package of underwear or something. Or, your cease and desist letter from the lawyers. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when it comes out. But when I saw the specialized C's happening and saw the mock-ups, I'm like, this is working for me. I'm kind of digging it. I do feel it's a little bit too soon, since after the last redesign, we've only had this one for maybe 5-6 years.
Yeah, but the redesign, let's face it, the redesigns have never gotten the press that this new one has.
Because it's such a dramatic departure.
It's been very subtle. Every time they put a new logo on, or they update I won't say a new logo, because it's just updating it.
Oh, the fans
now they've totally
redesigned
it.
Yeah, the fans backlash on the last one. I think this one, it seemed like it was designed more for multimedia. I haven't seen an animated version of this yet, but you can bet this was designed for that in mind. We're going to see that D peel back to reveal the C, and it's going to look really slick animated. The print stuff, I think we were all wondering what that was going to look like, and then we finally got the mock-ups a few weeks ago, and they're kind of cool. So we'll have to wait and see. I know a lot of my customers are resistant, but most public is resistant to change. There was New 52 came in and everybody bitched about it, and then they bought them. So,
well, it's not so much the logo or the cover; it's what's between the front and back that makes all the difference in a book. I mean, I've seen covers that have grabbed my attention. The inside's been absolute crap.
That's right. So, all you guys are bitching about the logo. It's not going to change your life one iota.
That's right. That's right. Well, with that, I want to thank you again, Jason, for coming down and joining me here in the Splash Page and talking about what's new, what's coming, and everything that is our world of comic books.
Always a pleasure, and look forward to doing this again in a couple of weeks. Why don't you rattle off how people can contact us?
Yeah, you can actually get in touch with us through Ustream. You can actually jump on and watch our show when we go live. But you can also get a hold of us at Gmail, which is the PC, or pardon me, that's a whole different show. The Splash Page 0 at gmail.com. Yeah, it's a splash page with the number 0, not the word 0. It is the splash page 0 at gmail.com.
And you can also find us on Facebook.
You can find us on Facebook
Twitter
as well, and Twitter. So by all means, folks, step in there, tell us what you think about our show, and if you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, we invite those, because it gives us something to talk about other than, just what's between the pages.
We'll catch you next time, folks.
All right, take care.
Bye.
All right, that drops. The stream is done.
Okay. All right.
Just